Hello, fiber friends. Welcome to another episode of the Knit, Knot, and Weave podcast. My name is Dorothy. I'm coming to you from Columbia, Maryland, and Columbia is approximately halfway between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. This is my little corner of the YouTube where I talk about all my fibery adventures. Mostly knitting, occasionally crochet. Actually, probably more than occasionally, but knitting, crocheting, weaving, and yarn dyeing. If you are new here, welcome. I'm glad that you found me. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram as Knit, Knot, and Weave, and you can find me on Ravelry as Phelia, Pheelya. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than my normal episodes. I've decided to share and talk about scrappy projects. And when I say scrappy projects, that could be scraps from leftover projects, which could be anything from, little smidgens of 3 to 5 grams or anywhere from half a gram. Most of my scraps are fingering weight. So most of the projects I will be sharing today are fingering weight. And actually, I think all of them are fingering weight today. So grab yourself something to drink, grab your knitting, and join me. I'm drinking coffee this episode. I gave blood earlier today, which means I can't have any alcohol till tomorrow. And let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to share is what I'm wearing. This is a Vertices Unite by Stephen West. It is the second one I've done. I have done 3 now. But this is my Halloween one. And each section is a different color of a Halloween color. So you've got green and black for Frankenstein. You've got white for ghosts. You've got purple, for the purple people eater. And then you've got orange for pumpkins. And then you've got red and black for blood. Blood, Dracula, vampires, whatever. So, all the yarn, I shouldn't say all the yarn. The purple, the orange, the white, and the green were all dyed by Tempting You, and it's on their sparkle base. The black yarn is dyed by me, because I was trying to get a really, really good, deep, solid black, and believe me, that was not easy to do. And then the red was it was a Malabrigo red, but I over-dyed it with black to get the color that I needed. I love this shawl. It's nice, it's big, it's warm, it's cozy, and it's the colors of Halloween. I'm also wearing my Hocus Pocus t-shirt today. It says, "Oh, look, another glorious morning. Makes me sick." Yes, I'm a Hocus Pocus fan. How did I get started on my scrappy adventures? That's a long story. Maybe not so long. I'd say it probably started years ago when Shelly, I can't think of her last name, Shelly somebody, came out with the sock blankie Afghan, where everybody was making the mitered squares and making a sock blanket. And that's when I started collecting all the fingering weight from my collection, for fingering weight that friends donated, fingering weight scrap swaps, and I started putting them in little bins according to colors, and my plan was to sort of be random, and like once I made one square out of a color, I'd put it into another bin and hopefully not use it till later on in the blanket, so that I didn't have 2 colors right next to each other. And I collected and I collected, and I probably collected more than I needed, but I didn't know because I had never started it. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Do I have it? I was trying to figure out a way of how to make this blanket so that it would be portable for me, because I knew if you were connecting it all at once, eventually it would get too big to bring out of the house. And so I had thought, this is when my first adventure with knitting and crocheting happened. I thought I would make a square and then using the same size crochet hook, this is just a test, but to crochet all the way around it and then be able to use crochet to connect all the blocks together, all the mitered squares together. And that never happened. So I have one little mitered square block. So if memory serves me right, Sandra Paul came out with her Blattenberg blanket right before the pandemic. And when I saw that, I knew that's what I was doing with all my scraps. And I knew it would be a long-term project, but I figured I would start on all of the little squares. And that's what I did. So I figured out, I made one square and figured it was about 2 inches square. And then I calculated, how many squares I would need across to go. And I wanted it for my bed, which is a queen size bed. So I was trying to figure out how many squares I would need, and then I would divide that in half to figure out how many colored squares I would need. And I want to say it was I think it was like 750 or 800 squares I would need for my bed. So I have 2 containers like this. These are all completely finished. All the ends are woven in. And then this is my second container. And all of these are finished. They just need the ends woven in. So I believe I now have the number of colored squares and maybe even a few extras to start putting my Blattenberg together. I'm actually looking into purchasing a cone of sock weight yarn so that the cream color that I want between all the squares will pretty much be the same color cream. So I have doubles and triplicates of some of these squares. And so what I was thinking of doing is separating them out and putting them in different piles. So if I have 3 of one color, I would put 1 in each pile, and I would work through one pile so that I didn't have duplicate squares like in the same vicinity as the rest. So I don't think I have more than 4 of any one color. So I may break it up into 4 separate areas, 4 separate piles of squares, and just work my way through one pile. And then I figure all the ones where I might have just a single square of, breaking them up into some of the later piles so that it would make it a little bit more even. I don't know if that made any sense. But anyway, so that's where I've started. So I have approximately, I would say, since they're not put together, I would say 45% of that blanket finished. Okay, 45% of the squares finished. How's that? And I did those all over a summer because first of all, it was wool yarn. There's no way I was having a wool blanket on my lap. But I could do little squares, and when I had about 10 of them, I'd weave all the ends in and I'd put them in a box. So now I'm ready to finish weaving in the ends and start putting them together with some white squares. Then I started making Scrappy hats. And a friend of mine got us started on these. It was my friend Beth. she shared some pictures of some hats that she was making for her family out of these scrappy, out of her scraps, out of her leftovers. And I thought that was such a neat idea. So I went through and I gathered some of my scraps together, and it amazed me because Beth kept saying you could put any colors together and it's going to work. And so I would find like 3 of the most hideous colors to put together, and I'm going to put some pictures up here of what the skeins were, and then I'll show you how the hat turned out, which was pretty amazing in my opinion. So the first one, as you could see by the picture here, there was a light purpley blue color, and then there was like a drab green and orange skein, and then one that had brights, yellows, oranges, and pinks. And so I put them all together, and it created this beautiful hat. Like, it just astounded me that the colors just worked so well together. So then it became a challenge with some of my friends. So the next one I put together was this blue, bright orange with that purple, pink, and gray colors that, if you had done like stripes out of them, you'd be like, ooh, Dorothy, what were you thinking? But you can't, it's just amazing. The colors just sort of make themselves work together. So then I stopped trying to put hideous colors together and just started making a whole bunch of hats. And literally, you could throw in scraps. As soon as you finished one scrap, you could just put in another one, and you had some of the best looking hats I think I've seen in a while. And so these will all be going into the charity pile. Then I started to get a little bit more adventurous, and I decided to make a cowl. At first, I wanted to make a cowl with all the leftovers from one of my favorite dyers. Unfortunately, she is no longer dyeing, or at least I haven't seen anything new come up in her shop. But this is Jen from Fresh from the Cauldron, and I took all of the leftovers that I had. I had purchased a bunch of different colors from her, and then I had a couple of people in the group donated some of their scraps to me, and I made this cowl. And as you can see, I just made a huge magic knot ball, skeined it up, and then made this cowl. So it was a provisional cast on, and then I think I cast it on about maybe 100 or 120, and I think I used a size 3 or 4, because I figured even if it was a looser stitch, it was knit in the round, so you would never notice it. And then when I had it long enough, I just grafted the 2 ends together, and I couldn't even tell you where I grafted the ends together at. But here it is, all my favorite colors. I shouldn't say all my favorite colors, but most of the colors that she was dyeing at the time. And I have this lovely little cowl now that keeps me all nice and warm. And you could do the same thing. If you have yarns that you've used from a favorite dyer and you have a bunch of leftovers, you could make a cowl or a scarf as like an homage to your favorite dyer and just put in little bits of all the different colors that you love. And some of these were merino and silk, some were merino and cashmere and nylon, some were sparkly yarns. And you just have fun. You could either do a magic ball like I did, or you could randomly lay out your colors so that they went in some sort of a cohesive order for you. But that's one. And then another one I made was a scarf. But it started in the same manner as I did a provisional cast on, because I was going to make this into a cowl. But I decided I had a cowl already, so I would just make it into a scarf. But again, it's all little tidbits of leftovers here and there. And some of the leftovers, as you could see here, this purple is just like one stripe, or this green that really only went around like a time and a half. So you could literally use the littlest bits for this. And then at the ends, again, it was knit circular, but at the ends, I picked up the stitches on the cast on edge, because I did a provisional cast on, and then I just did a 1x1 rib in a gray. But you could use any color if you wanted to, or you could just start with a 1x1. And you could see all the colors on the inside, they were just tied off. No ends to weave in. And actually now I'm not, but you could see little, and that's all I did. And so you could do the same thing. This one was actually, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. This one, I followed the pattern. It was called Fiddly Bits by Jana Pehuda. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. But that was the pattern for this one. And then this was the alliteration scarf by Teresa Chavez. But again, they were both free patterns. But again, you were just casting on, and you just knit until the scrap ran out, and then you added another one, and you just kept going. You can see my hair. It's fun to make the magic balls with this, because you can put skeins together, and until you start knitting it, you never remember what you put together. So it's fun to get to the next color and to get to the next color. And then I made the Honey Cowl by Antonia Shanklin. And I just did the same thing. I wanted a shorter cowl that I could probably just use a pop of color when I was wearing like maybe a black or a dark navy sweater or top. But I did the exact same thing. I made just a little magic ball. Used all different colors, no matter what size the scrap was. This one, I think, yeah, I did cut the ends nice and short so they don't show through, since this was a shorter cowl. And then I just bound off. So even though this cowl was not written for scraps, you could certainly make it with scraps. You could make anything. Any pattern that you like, you can make with scraps. You could do the same thing with hats. Take any hat pattern you like, and you could use scraps for it. Scarves, mitts, even dishcloths. I had leftovers, and I just used different colors and made dishcloths with leftovers. And believe me, my family doesn't care. They will use them. It's a great way to use your leftovers and not waste yarn or waste materials and put them in a landfill. So I try to use every scrap that I have. So now I'm going to start showing you some of the whips that I have for my scrappy projects. So the first one you've already seen is the Blattenberg blanket. And though each of those squares only used about 2 grams of yarn per square. And then once I made the squares, if I had any left over, I would weigh it with my trusty little scale here. Because I figured out, so if I had any leftovers from the Blattenberg blanket, if I had any scraps left over once I've made 2 or 3 squares for the Blattenberg blanket, I would put it aside to work on another scrappy project. Last winter, I started my granny stripe blanket. And the last time you guys saw it was where I put this progress keeper right here. So I had done all of this the last time you saw it. And since then, I've managed to add on all of this. So from here to here, it's a pretty good amount. Each row is one color. And once I use it for the row, I put it aside and it doesn't go in this blanket again. So this blanket is truly a blanket of many colors. I've figured out that each row takes approximately 8 to 9 grams of a yarn. And so when I have scraps left over from other projects or whatnot, I would weigh them. And if they would weigh, about 8 grams or more, I would put them aside until I used it in this scrappy blanket. Now this blanket is being crocheted on a C hook, a 2.75 millimeter hook. I believe this is a clover hook. It has a nice round back, but a flat, but hopefully you could see that. It's nice and flat up here for your thumb, but it's got a nice curve here, so it gives your hand a good grip depending upon how you hold your crochet hook. And yes, I am a lefty, so it's in my left hand. And then, because I'm changing the colors on every row, when I get about 10 scraps out here, I will stop and I will weave in all the ends and then keep going. This way I don't have a whole bunch of ends to weave in when I'm completely finished. I am planning to make this a nice big blanket. So right now it's a little bit more than 5 feet wide, 5.5 feet wide, because I'm 5.5 feet tall. And I'm thinking that it's probably going to go to about maybe 65, 70 inches. I like it long enough so that if it's up here, I still have enough to curl around my toes. I'm thinking that once this blanket is finished, I may use a nice dark color, not black, but maybe a dark navy or a dark green. Ooh, that might be nice, a dark green, as an edging all the way around, just to sort of pull it all together. Ooh, or maybe a dark charcoal. What do you guys think? I definitely don't want to do black. Maybe a dark brown? Oh, that's going to be fun to try and figure out at the end. Maybe a nice dark brown if I have enough somewhere. I could use a nice dark brown, and that sort of will tie all the colors in together. And then once I've used the scrap in my granny stripe, I'll weigh it again on my trusty scale, and if it's at least 8 grams, yeah, 9 grams. If it's at least 9 grams left over, then I will put it in a bag to use in my linen stitch crochet blanket. Now my linen stitch blanket is a marled blanket. Again, it's probably about 5.5 feet wide. Here's my little Tigger progress keeper. So the last time I showed this blanket, I had just all of this done. And I've gotten about another maybe 10 inches done. This idea I got from, Sugar Plums. I think it's Steve from Dramatic Knits. He was making one of these blankets, and I got the idea from him. So it's a crocheted blanket. It's a crocheted linen stitch. So you're holding 2 yarns together to do the linen stitch, but every row you're changing out a color. So currently I have this yarn attached, and it did 1 row with the color previous. So now I'm going to attach another color to go back across, and then this will get cut and a different color will be added. So this is taking, because it is a single stitch, it's taking me a lot longer to do. But again, it takes approximately 9 grams to go back and forth and do 1 complete row with the color. I'm using a Furls crochet hook, which is a size H, which I believe H is 5.5. I believe so. I believe an H is 5.5. But this is slow going, but it is making a nice warm blanket. Oh, it's almost like I have a weighted blanket on when I'm working on this one. So again, this one is also about 5 feet wide, 5.5. And I'm probably, again, going to go to about 60 to 72 inches on this one. It's really fun working on marled things like this, because it's just, like I said with the hats, it's amazing to see how colors that you normally would not put together for, say, like a striped piece like this, because your eyes would just be like, ah! But when you do it with 2 different colors, it doesn't, I don't know, it just works off of each other. It's just really neat. So yes, that is 3 blankets, 3 Scrappy blankets that are started. All of them are crocheted. What about you guys? Do you guys have any Scrappy blankets or shawls or scarves or something that you guys are working on? Have you ever thought about doing Scrappy projects? I never, for the longest time I didn't. I think it's because all the older, I don't know. It's like all the older, when I think back to all the books or the pamphlets that I used to buy, 10, 20 years ago, to, that were Scrappy blankets and stuff, you could tell that they were Scrappy. And I mean, not that you can't tell that these aren't Scrappy. I don't know what it is. But for the longest time, I was like, oh, no, everybody's going to know it's Scrappy. And then somehow I'm like, who cares if it's Scrappy? It looks so pretty. I know. I'm very, very strange. So you would think with 3 blankets on the hooks, so to speak, that would be enough. No. I think I talked some in my last episode, ADHD, or I should say ADD, because I definitely don't have the hyperactivity. But I cannot sit in my house to watch a movie, to watch a podcast, to watch anything and not have my hands doing something. And I think that really got started during the pandemic when I had tons and tons of Zoom meetings, and I my mind cannot my mind wanders in meetings. And I have learned that if I keep my hands busy, for some reason I can focus a little bit more on what people are saying. Because if I don't, my mind wanders and I start thinking, what am I making for dinner tonight? What am I gonna I don't know, what do I need on my shopping list? And I'd start making all these lists or plans in my head, and then I didn't know what was happening in the meeting. So I think that's how I got started with I always have to have something in my hands now, even when I'm just sitting watching anything on on TV or really on my computer. And when if I don't have a project near me to work on, I will just start something. Yeah, so I started something. I've seen lots of people working on these. I've seen this online. I don't know how many of you watch the Bakery Bears, but one of the podcasters on there, Kay Jones, has a pattern out that she calls the Jelly Roll Blanket. And I could certainly see why. And so I started a Jelly Roll Blanket with some of my leftovers. So I haven't decided if I'm really going to do all my strips like this, or if I'm just going to sort of go back and forth between making a column like this and then picking up along the side, because I slipped. You can see I slipped all of the edging stitches. First of all, I always do that. I think that makes a nice edging on knit patterns like this. But I haven't decided if I'm gonna start my next row next to it and join it as I go, or if I'm gonna attempt to pick up all along here and maybe do like a long stripe in between and then do another stripe this way. And then my other thought, just because I have to be different, was if I make all my stripes this way, to maybe vary the widths. So this was 30 stitches across. So maybe the next one might be 15 inches across, or 10, and then a 20, and then a 15, just to break it up a little bit. What do you guys think? I have to sketch it out. I can sort of visualize it in my head if there was like a column of 30 and then 15 and then 10 and then 20. But I'm not sure how that would look if I did all different colors the way I'm doing this one. Of course, hers was beautiful. Kay Jones was beautiful. She uses a lot of, the one that she has posted was mostly pastel colors. But right now I'm using I have most of my pastel colors set aside because I want to do this. I'm trying to mimic a top that I saw Sandra Paul share that she had completed on her podcast. She said that she wasn't putting out the pattern for it, but it was such a beautiful top. It was all mini circles and mini squares that were connected, so it made a very open top. So you'd have to wear a tank top or something under it, but it was just so pretty. So I'm saving all of my lighter skeins or minis or leftovers to do that. But what do you guys think on the jelly roll? Should I make them all the same size? Or should I try and see? I shouldn't say that. I'm one that I always seem to rip out things. But should I try making them all the same size? Or should I see what it looks like if I do different widths just for variety? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And then I started playing around some more. And I made another set of little squares, but I decided, you know what? I don't need another little square blanket. So all I did was I put them all together. I crocheted them together. You could probably see over here. So I just did a little 9x9 square and put a pretty edging all around it. And that's going to be my coffee coaster for my table in my living room. But then I wanted to do something different. I was trying to think of a shape that isn't very popular, that hasn't been done before, but at the same token, I didn't want to do a flowery one where there was a whole bunch of holes. I like my blankets nice and warm. So I found a triangle pattern, and I did a few samples of a triangle in this bigger triangle. And I thought that might be an idea to use some more leftovers with. Then I was thinking maybe I want to do little triangles with black outlines and make it all look like little pieces of stained glass. So I made a few of those. And then I went back to my marling idea and wondered if how the marling would look in a triangle. And I haven't decided. I don't know which one I like the best. What do you guys think? Large triangles or small triangles? Or should I do single colors or marled? So this was done with 2 strands of different colors held together. And then unfortunately, it wasn't until after I had put a couple of these together that I realized I put them together wrong. But oh well. This was just a test, right? It's just a test. But I think I must be crazy. I'm leaning towards these little ones. But I really, really don't need another little crochet blanket. But I should probably finish my Blattenberg blanket first before I start another piece together one, right? I know. You guys are all thinking, I'm crazy. How many blankets could one person possibly have going at the same time? Then somebody started, and if the life of me, I can't remember who, but Lisa from Knit All the Yarn, that's where I learned about it, was talking about a monster muscle burl. So that's what I started. Put together a magic ball, and I am knitting from both ends of it because I've realized that I've put a lot of reds together. And so when I get tired of using the red, I'll just flip it to the other side and see what's there. So I'd say I'm about halfway on this one. But I have lots of yarn here, so I may wind up taking 2 of the monster muscle burrows. And it's on, I believe it's a cow that's on Instagram. I'll figure it out and put it down here for you guys. And everything that I talk about, all the patterns and stuff, will all be in the show notes below. So you'll be able to find everything down there. And I'll figure now I'll just knit while I chat with you. So that is it for my works and progresses in regards to my scrappy things. I am looking forward to Rhinebeck. I'm probably going to head up because it's this coming weekend is also my mom's birthday. Her birthday's the 16th. So I have my tickets for Woolen Folk, and I'll be going there with, I'm meeting a co-worker there, and I'll also be with a few of my podcasting friends. Turns out a couple of us rented rooms at a B&B together. Well, not together, but at the same place. So we'll be hanging out there. It's going to be Aquila and Johnny Bow and Tammy from Cinematic Skeins and Jessica from Tea and Biscuits and Chevy Rel from Chevy Rel Stuff. And I'm not sure who else has a room at that place. So it should be fun. I don't have any particular spending plan. I'm looking forward to just I didn't buy tickets to any of the other events. I heard that Woolen Folk was in a very nice area. It would be a nice place to sort of hang out for the day. So that's my plan. My coworker and I are going to meet up there and just sort of walk around, see the vendors, listen to the podcasters speak, and, probably just sit and knit and chat for the day. So I'm not looking to flit from not one vendor. I'm not looking to hustle my way through Woolen Folk and then go to Cake Palooza and then go to Indie Untangled. I'm just looking for a nice, relaxing weekend. What else is going on? I have to bring my car into the shop. The brakes are making some funny noises. Well, not funny noises, but I'm starting to feel some hesitancy. So I want to get my car checked out before I drive it up to New York. Bringing that in Wednesday. Work is starting to get a little bit crazy. The kids are a little bit off the chains. I don't know what the deal is. It's not like, spring break is coming or winter break is coming. Maybe there's a full moon out and I haven't seen it. But I do have a new assistant. She's a part-time assistant. She's very wonderful. She is picking up things very quickly, so I'm very fortunate in that respect. I have two lovely assistants that I work with and that can do their job without being told everything that needs to get done. What else can I tell you? I do have some acquisitions to share. I guess I'll share those now. So my first acquisition is my new subscription to Row 1 Mini. Not my new subscription. My new monthly package. Sorry about the crinklies. But if you don't know about it, Row 1 is a subscription service. And every month you'll get a bag of yarn from a particular dyer. So what Row 1 does is they purchase yarn from different indie dyers, and then they break them down, and you get 10 different colors of 10-gram minis. So you get 100 grams altogether, and you get introduced to a new yarn dyer that you may not know of. So this month is 100 ravens, and you get a little background information on the indie dyer. You get a list of the color names that you have. You get a lovely little stitch marker. This month it's a little bat. Very cute. Usually in the package comes a piece of candy of some sort, but this year it was Welch's jellies, and I had those when I came home from my blood donation. And then what's really nice is that the minis are all skeined up and they're ready to use. So you literally could just pull an end and start working from them. But look at those, that purple. Oh my gosh. So I now have a nice collection of row 1 minis. So of course I will have plenty to make yet another Scrappy blanket. I know, I should make Scrappy. I know, I should make some Scrappy socks, but I don't know why. Scrappy socks just don't interest me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they are in shoes. I don't know. I mean, I knit socks. I just haven't attempted to knit Scrappy socks. So next up is a witchy box from Legacy Fiber Arts. It is their Halloween box, but it is not an advent. So you get all of them in one box to open at once. What's nice is you also got a pattern that can use all the scraps. I'm so used to saying scraps. That you can use all the minis in a project. I kind of wish that the cover page had been done in... Oh, they gave you 2 different patterns. I kind of wish the cover pages had been printed in color so that you could see what they look like. But those are the minis, and then there was this cute little box. Let's see what's in here. Oh, a cute little... witch's hat stitch marker or progress keeper. Very cute. And then inside are all the minis nicely laid out together. So it's a little squishy. So they're not really meant to be opened one at a time. It's just a box. It had 14 different minis in it. So that was really cute. So you got minis, a project keeper, and 2 different patterns. And then the next box I have is a witch box from Dragon Horde Yarn. So it's one of their sip and knit boxes. So again, it's not an advent, but this came with Candy Club Celebration Bites. So some sort of a sweet treat. What is this? Ooh, a Ouija bath bomb. That'll be fun to use. Ooh, a nice little Ouija notions pouch. That'll be handy. Oh, how adorable. a planchette needle sizer. That'll be fun. Ooh, a planchette pin. A Stitch Witch sticker. Skeleton stickers. A third eye sticker. A moon sticker. Ooh. And a second planchette sticker. So, wow. Got one gold and one silver with the kitty cats. And again, this was Dragon Horde yarn. And that's not all. Ooh, salted caramel coffee. This will be interesting. What's in this box? Ooh, a whole bunch of stitch markers. How cute. This is a nice box. And then, of course, the yarn. Ouija. Ooh. This is beautiful. So this is Dragon Horde yarn and their myth fingering. I need my glasses to read. So myth fingering is 25% superwash merino wool. I'm sorry, 75%, 25% nylon, 463 yards, and this colorway is Ouija. And I love it. Look at all those colors. Oof. Can't wait to make something out of this. So that is it for my goodies. I have 2 Halloween advents, but I can't start opening them, I think, until the 19th of October. And that will take me from the 19th all the way to the 31st. Obviously, I am not doing Vlogtober. I had a hard enough time doing Vlogmas last year, trying to keep up, that I decided I just wasn't doing it this year. But I'll probably post a picture on Instagram for each day when I start opening up those advents. So what else can I tell you? What sort of things do you guys knit with your scrappy yarns? Are you into blankets or hats, or what sort of things do you guys like to make with your leftovers? I'm thinking I might use some of my DK and worsted leftovers and make some monsters for my little I don't know if they're my second cousins or first cousins once removed, or I don't know how that works, but my cousin's little kids, because I have 2 of them that are not babies anymore, but they're toddlers. There you go, toddlers. So they might like little monsters to carry around and squeeze and hug and love on. What else? What else is going on with you guys? Anything new? You guys have any great ideas to use scrap yarns with? Scraps or leftovers or minis or whatnots? I'm just working on my monster muscle burrow. I can't think of anything else to share with you guys today. Oh, I know something. I had a meeting last week. It was one of our all-day meetings, and I just found out. I know we all know that June is Pride Month, but what I did not know is that October is actually LGBTQIA month. I did not know there were two separate months, but October 11th is National Coming Out Day. So I asked the students in our GSA, which is our Gay Straight Alliance group, if they would like to come in and put up some sort of a display in the media center to promote and educate students on what it means to be LGBTQIA, or what good books to read, or just whatever they wanted to do to celebrate the month. And so I've decided, in honor of that, I would do a giveaway. I thought I would do a giveaway for this lovely skein of yarn that I dyed up. Of course, it's the colors of the rainbow. It is love, love is love, is what I've called it. I know it's a little overused, but it is what it is. Love is love. It is a bulky weight yarn. So it would make a lovely hat. It's definitely enough for a hat. Or a pair of mittens. Fingerless mitts, maybe a cowl. So what do you guys think? So I thought we would do another question from my topics box. The woman's name is Agnes Baden-Powell. Okay. She's the co-founder of the Girls Guide Association in the UK in response to the Boy Scouts not allowing girls into their troops in 1928. The US Girl Scouts was founded 2 years later. So the question is, which is the best Girl Scout cookie? This should get a lot of responses. So in the comment box below, answer the question, which is the best Girl Scout cookie? And in my next episode, I will use the random comment generator to give away this lovely skein of rainbow yarn. And I am looking forward to Rhinebeck. I can't wait to see some folks that I haven't seen since Maryland Sheep and Wool. I'm looking forward to a nice chilly day at Rhinebeck this year. Fingers crossed. Last year it was too hot. I could not wear my Rhinebeck sweater. And I think that is all I have for you guys this week. So, how many of you are going to Rhinebeck? So if you've enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and click the thumbs up button, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and then hit the bell so you'll be notified of when my next episode comes out. I really appreciate you doing that, as it gives me a little boost so that others can find me on the YouTube. And it just helps my channel grow a little bit. I wish you all well. I hope to see some of you at Rhinebeck. If you see me, come say hello. What else? I think that's it. I bid you all farewell. happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy fibering of anything, any fibering that you're doing. And I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. Ciao, ciao.